is Jo, the project officer, getting out and about, talking to everybody. Everybody knows Jo. I really picked her because she is the sort of person that so respectful. Anyone would sit down and have a cup of tea with Jo and just have a lovely chat. Yeah. This is some. The other thing we started to do was do an art project in this town, just to create a conversation. This is a young artist that's been mentored through this project. He's working with primary school there, but actually everyone was part of doing a model of the town. So this is, it's not high-tech art, but it's community development. So this is their makings. Everybody's been part of making their town. These are stories that people had collected in the town. The idea of the model was so the community decided on this. We didn't. We started a conversation about an event or some art, and we just placed an artist within the mix working with Jo. And they started this idea of they're very strong on their history. They wanted to build their model. And they had pieced in, over the week that the model was in the town hall, you could add a story about the town. This is a lovely story that someone's added to the model. This, in the Second World War, this lovely little town was very worried about who might invade. So they thought they better start practicing. And so one team of the town decided that they would protect the bridge, and there was another team that was going to attack the bridge. So they'd be really ready for the war when it started, way down there in the bottom of Australia. Well, this was all fine and dandy, but they didn't communicate about which bridge they were talking about. So both teams were on different bridges, waiting there for a day or so. So this lovely theme of different stories coming through. The kids did these gorgeous future trees. We were very much wanting to have a conversation about what the future is. And that's been the hardest thing about working in this community, about service access. This aspiration level about the future and what they want is very low. So our artist came up with this idea of working on this future tree. You can see these kids have been invited, if you like, to think about what they want to do in the future. And the photos encapsulate this guy, is in the army. There's a vet with her toys, a musician with a guitar. Lovely way just to pick, and you can imagine the interest from all the town in what these kids wanted to do. And there are films. We had 75 people through, and it was wonderful for me dropping in, just watching the communication, the conversations that were going on between people. And lo and behold, there were projects developing, around this. Someone started wondering, well, what are we doing with all of those old shop fronts? Couldn't we turn them into something else, etc., etc. So you can see sort of the hubbubble of community development that we've been using. And we haven't done much community development in our health work in this particular area of the state. And so that, we will be writing that up and looking at some of the effectiveness of that process. So the research that we really wanted to be doing was looking at, firstly, the housing. So what we wanted to measure is sort of pre and post intervention. What number of households have we shifted in terms of their climate proof? So there's a lot about that. How much behaviour change have we created? Now remember, this model is completely different. There are organisations just down the road from us that decided that their intervention was to run a one-off workshop about climate change with the local community. And we know who would turn up. We certainly wouldn't get the kind of 75 people that have, been engaged in a model and the I buttons within their homes. We would get probably 10 that knew about climate change anyway. We also want to look at the social capital. Very interested about Penny Hoare's work in University of Calgary is very strong that the social capital of a place is actually one of the most resilient things you can create and build. So we wanted to map that, and also some availability and access of services. So these are some of the things we've been doing. Jo has been doing some journaling, and we're going to be helped by University of Calgary in analysing those journals. It's been a very, very interesting process for her. We're clearly doing some surveys with the local town. We're using University of Calgary to do some social network analysis. And we've been very, lucky to be supported by a range of research people. So this is very early data, but I just wanted to show you the level of just snippets of data that we've now got from our iButton work. So what we've done is we've allocated the households into low, medium, high level of action at the starting point. So this is whether if you were in a high level of action on your home, you would have already had insulation and have changed your behaviour to moderate your temperature in your house. You would have gaps and seals done, etc. You might even have double glazing. Medium, so we've got a bit of a scale. You might have been doing one or two of those things, but not much. Low, you essentially wouldn't have had anything done. So the iButton data correlates well with basically if it's hot outside, it's hot inside. So what we can show you is that the 35 households that were involved and have had an iButton, this has been the changes. And it's not, it's clearly that the highs have still remained high. What you can see is that all the lows have moved. Some of those houses that had no climate proofing at all have shifted into high. Some have moved into medium. And we've shifted the medium, we've called it a sort of a medium plus. They're not quite at the high, but they're. So have we shifted behaviour? Yes. Have we shifted a lot of homes are now, if they're not insulated now, they soon will be, because we've got 35 households that are saying of that proportion that haven't got insulation, they want to take part in the government's action on insulation. This is just demonstrating that in a different way. So you can see the proportion that have changed. So the green, even the people that were sort of low in terms of action, the green is the proportion that have moved into high. So you can see there's been a substantial change. And the pink is they've moved into medium. And you can see the medium ones, that the yellow is no change, but 50%, or clearly 50% have moved into medium. And this, unfortunately, is that should be yellow, which is no change. So even the high end have had a bit of change, have had some medium change. So the next step for us is to do some social network analysis with Penny, and these are hypotheticals. This is demonstrating the work that we are just giving her data for her to do. So this is. Have people seen these sort of network maps? So I don't need to really describe what they do. So the main point of these network maps is to show the interrelationship between people in a town or resources in a town. You can see this one's quite spread out. They've got quite you can see a lot of people in outlying dots. That means they're not so well connected in. Yeah, so it's a community that aren't strongly connected versus this one. So this is the sort of models that Penny uses after interventions, showing a much more diverse interconnection. So if you model that, taking from the environmental world, the more complex a human system, the more complex your social networks, and the more complex, if you like, a natural system is, the more resilient those systems are. Give an example. If someone thinks you've got a crap idea, actually it doesn't matter. You've got a whole network of other people that are kind of balancing that feedback. In a small town, this is really important, that people have a range of different connections. Penny's very interested in this because the outcomes of our fire was that the people who are more connected into family and friends were much more likely to survive in a fire. So she's very keen for us to match now who's got fire plans in this town and start to sort of allocate it around. It's very interesting for our emergency services. The head of our emergency services has been contacting me, very interested, because you cascade this down. You go, well, actually, these sorts of community development approaches we can be using for resilience in other things, not just climate change. So this sort of work's been very interesting to a range of levels. This is listing across our state the sort of people that are asking me to come and talk about too, whether it's being public health at policy level. Landcare are our group of farmers who are grassroots doing farm work. Our local government associations, universities, sustainability environment, schools, Rural Women's Network, etc. And one of our partners has taken it up to the national level.